Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Universal Lens. I am John Emilio.
And I'm Henry Beltra. Happy to be here, dude.
Back at it, baby.
Back at it.
Episode 44, 45.
We're coming up on a year soon.
November.
Yeah.
November will be 1 year.
That's cool, man. I was telling my son, I was like, hey, but in a few weeks, we're going to be a year. He goes, I swear, this is his real reaction. Like, really? He goes, I would say you guys have been doing this only for like 4 or 5 months.
Wait to episode 52. We're going to have a party. There's going to be catering and food. We'll have the crowds here. It's going to be great, man. We're going to celebrate our 1 year anniversary.
That's going to be good. Yeah, where we're going to do it?
We're going to do it here. We're going to do it.
No, we're not going to rent out the Rutgers Arena.
the
Giant Stadium?
Giant Stadium, Meadowlands. Oh my God, is it the Meadowlands? They called it. Yeah,
MetLife Stadium.
MetLife Stadium. No, MetLife.
So you mean to tell me, don't book it?
I mean, they want to guarantee 70,000 ticket sales. I don't know if we got that yet.
I had everything ready, man.
But I don't know if we
fine.
I don't know if we have 70,000.
That's okay. Yeah, don't shoot for the stars, John.
No.
Settle for.
So we will sell out. Absolutely right. He's right. Live in abundance. We will sell out. We will sell out. And I don't know. You know what? We will do something for our 52nd episode. I got to think about it. We should think about it.
Why not?
Maybe we'll do a.
Well, you know what? At that moment,
we'll do a remote location.
Right. At that moment, the weather isn't. It's hit or miss, right? Because that's the middle of November. Would you say?
Yeah, but why? Like do it outside and stuff.
JMP and nice setting, not JMP. Oh my gosh, JMP.
We need
Thompson Park.
Yeah, what are you gonna do for Wi-Fi? I don't think my phone. I don't know if my phone's 5G service. It might be enough, but I don't need like that. Where you're, I
understood everything you said, and I'm the only one that's. No, but I might have a little gadget that'll give us Wi-Fi.
Well, you have it, but it's cellular, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's good. It's strong. It's good. But anyway, whatever.
Yeah, we're strong. Okay, cool.
I'd rather you be thinking about it abundantly.
You're right. Absolutely. And that's I think that's what we're gonna kind of talk about today.
Let's let everybody in on what the hell we're talking about.
Well, you sent me the video, so go ahead.
Yeah, John. All right, so this goes back to the time that we had our little interview with Michael Locasto, Monk's Mind, and Mike Locasto mentioned a guy who's very famous on the internet. Much more famous than we could ever. I mean, I don't gonna.
We're famous.
Yeah,
we are famous.
Yeah.
He will be famous.
But let's just say he's the guy's up there. He's got a huge following. His name is Dr. Joe Dispensa.
Yeah. Good message. Yeah.
So at the moment that we interviewed Mike Locasto, I had heard of, and I know you had too.
Yeah.
I had the name had crossed my face, and I didn't really know what he did or what he was into, and because there's so many online people, personalities.
Oh my God,
it's endless, right? So
yeah, there are a lot.
Long story short. I have been enjoying the YouTube channel. I'm probably gonna say it wrong, but the guy's name is Lewis Howes.
I don't know if I've ever heard of him.
Very, very good interviewer, and he interviews a lot of these real estate guys that I'm into, and how they made their fortunes. So I kind of fell into this Lewis Howes situation, and then Lewis Howes interviewed Joe Dispensa. Apparently, he's interviewed him several times, but I said, "What the hell? Let's go."
Was that the guy who did the interview that you sent me? Oh, that was him. All right.
He's the other guy.
Yeah, gotcha. He
looks like an ex-football player.
Yeah,
and that's what he is.
Strapping young man.
Yeah, good-looking dude, but he's got skills, and you can see those skills come out. He's got a very successful YouTube channel. He's got over 3 million subscribers. I mean, he interviews Tony Robbins, the big names. And long story short, I fell upon this Joe Dispensa being interviewed by Lewis Howes. And I'm like, I never heard Joe Dispensa talk. But when I heard this interview, I was like, this is what we talk about, just explained a little differently. And it has very practical, like real world. You can see how it affects you in the real world more so than imagine it. And the guy speaks to you. And if you've ever been in, and I'm sure if you follow us, you've been in a situation where you've been in anxiety, depression, an OCD, some sort of attack of your mental in some sense, he speaks to you, because when he starts telling you what you're feeling, you're like, yes, yes. And you start thinking about the time that you had all this despair and all this fear and this worry, and then where that worry comes from. And we've spoken, oh man, we've spoken, we've spoken about how that fight or flight feeling comes from our evolution of, hey, big dinosaur headed our way,
Yeah, sure.
run, you know, and we still have that. So we see, hey, we're going to get fired from our job, run, and it's one of those things where you run, you hide, you retract, and you end up basically losing yourself in that process. And then you're caught up in the fear, caught up in the anxiety, caught up in whatever that negative emotion may be. But he comes at you with this lack philosophy where you're lacking, and the abundant philosophy where you're actually abundant and you have so much that you can give away. You can give, and whether that be money, whether that be happiness, whether that be time, whether that be whatever it is, but you have more than lacking. And so his position is, why are you caught up in your past, in that fear, instead of let's develop the future that you want to happen, the future, the abundant future, instead of the lacking past, which is giving you the lacking present, which is probably going to give you the lacking future.
It's a lot of lacking.
It's a lot of lacking. And it's funny because we're all human, and we all experience this. And if you don't experience this, I think there's something wrong with you.
I mean, I don't know if there's something. Yeah, I think it's so naturally humans, we're going to default, at least nowadays, we're going to default to why we're not good enough, right? So the biggest thing I took from his message was, and you were speaking about lacking, is that sense of lacking, that sense of I am not enough, that sense of I need more, that sense of I haven't accomplished this yet, hinders you, holds you back. So what he says parallels what we say on the show, what other spiritual teachers like Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass, what Dale Sadhguru, and those are three that I mentioned because those are three that I tend to follow, what they tend to say also. It's I always like this. It's you're on the same highway. This is cars and trucks. This is cars only, but they're all headed the same way. It depends which one fits you better, right? So for what Dr. Joe talks about is he uses it's more of a thinking approach to it. So instead of buying into the thoughts that hinder you, like lacking, I don't have enough, he says, act as if you already are abundant, meaning act as if you've already reached that goal that you want to do. Don't wait, like we've always said, right? Don't wait to accomplish the goal to feel abundant about it. Feel abundant about what you're doing and what you're working towards. Have that feeling of, I've already made it because this is what I want to do. This is where my passion is. Instead of saying, I'm only going to feel abundant once I've accomplished my goal. So what do we always say? If you're on a path, don't make it about the goal. The goal is your direction. The journey you're on is where you're living your life. That's where your abundance is. It's in the present moment where you are right now. Instead of saying, well, I'm on this path, but I'll only be happy. I'll only be content. I'll only be fulfilled once I accomplish this goal. Well, that's the one thing that we have in life that is the only resource in life that's really worth anything is time, right? Practical time, which we only have so much of. Why would I want to waste any of my, as I like to say, clock time or practical time on waiting to feel fulfilled about something only when I accomplish it? Sure, when you accomplish a goal, that's great, but why not have that feeling of fulfillment while you're doing it? And what he says, Dr. Joe, which is great, is what you put out. If you're putting that energy out, and this is going to parallel other things we've said, when you put that energy out, guess what the universe sends back to you? It realizes you're on the same I mean, I'm not into they talk about theta, gamma, delta, brain waves. I mean, I don't know much about that, but I always say, what we say on the show is, if you put that energy out, the universe hears that and sends you that energy back. So if you're a negative person, always complaining, you know what the universe is going to send you more of? People that complain. And that's going to be your reality. If you're and I'm not saying this isn't about choosing one thought over another. It's about watching your thoughts and then choosing, how do I want to live my life?
Yeah.
Right? We all have negative. He even says it. He goes, this isn't not about not having that thought that you're not good enough. Because you're a human being. That thought that you're not good enough is going to be there. That lacking thought is going to be there. It's just natural. It's, do you believe that thought? Do you buy into that thought? Do you energize that thought? Do you give that thought all the attention and have this feeling of I am not enough and believe that I am not enough? Because when you do that, it's harder for you to succeed at what you want to accomplish anyway. But if you act like you're abundant, like, hey, like we said before the show, we do the show. We haven't made a dime off of it. That wasn't our intention, but we haven't made a dime off of it. But when we're done, we feel like we're rock stars. Like we close an episode, I posted, I'm like, this is great. The content was great. The message was great. What we did was great. What we spoke about was great. Like, I feel like I've accomplished something. And with time, maybe that turns into something. Yeah. But that feeling of we don't wait for that. We're not waiting to get 50 likes or 5,000 likes or 400,000 views before we feel that we've accomplished what we want to do, before we feel abundant about this. So that's exactly what he's saying. So if you're on your path to doing something, if you're only going to feel abundant about or accomplished or fulfilled when you actually achieve it, if you achieve it, how much of your life have you wasted? Right? That's why I love, like, when you sent me that video, I was like, and you said, this parallels what we speak about. I'm like, 100. And I listened to it, and I've heard of Dr. Joe. There's a couple of Facebook groups where they're actually Eckhart Tolle groups, but the people in them actually are fans of Dr. Joe also, because it's a different verbiage he uses. And that verbiage might resonate with the person who needs to hear alpha, gamma, delta brain waves as you evolve to a higher evolution or higher enlightenment or a higher form of awareness. That might resonate with you, and that might, those words might be great for you. That might be the road that you need to be on, as opposed to the road that I'm on, even though we're both heading there. But maybe you want to be with the cars and trucks. I'm okay with being with the cars because that works for me. So it's just a different way to say the same exact thing, but I love the way he says it.
So it's in my opinion, it's all experimental, in the sense I have no data, me personally, to show you that if you think this way, the universe will deliver. So he puts it like this.
That's yes.
But he puts it like this. He puts it like, put yourself in a situation where you're ready to receive from the universe. And if you are in the constant fight or flight mode or syndrome, then you're not ready to receive, because you are withdrawing, you are in protective, you are in fear, as opposed to you're in gratitude, you're in abundance.
You're in gratitude. Yeah, he said that.
So imagine.
Be thankful for what you have. Be gracious for what you have in life.
And I believe that it was our last episode where I had mentioned that the same component of the brain that handles fear handles gratitude, and that you can offset fear with gratitude.
Yes.
And I said, I wonder if there's something to that. So apparently we're not trained therapists, but there is something to that. And as somebody who, is say living with some fear and anxiety issues, this is very productive for me. This is very productive for me. This is very uplifting for me. This is it's a different way of framing things for yourself, so that you can actually, the law of attraction, you can actually attract goodness.
Yeah. So you said there's no data to prove it. I mean, if you're waiting for scientific data, if you follow guys like Dr. Joe Dispensa or other people who kind of speak about that, they'll give you examples of how it's worked.
He does,
right?
Yeah.
He might not give you a client's name, but for privacy reasons, but he tells you of people that this was happening in their life and they implemented this, and then how things turned around. But it's very important. This isn't a get quick rich. Yeah, and
Get rich quick. See?
yeah, and this is where kind of people I think will get lost with this because they'll hear it, they go, "This is the answer to everything I want. I could be rich. I could be rich."
Yeah.
Well, if you're making it about being rich, you're chasing something.
Yeah.
The message that he portrays, at least in my interpretation of it, and I think it's pretty accurate, is don't wait. Like we said before, don't wait. Don't make it about I'll be fulfilled when I get to this. I'm fulfilled now. Like I'm abundant now. I have everything I need now. I am good enough now. And the universe kind of sends that back to you, and then the money follows. So if you're thinking, "Oh, God, I'll listen to Dr. Joe, or I'll listen to these guys, and I'm gonna follow my path," but it's you're kind of back talking yourself, and you're trying to trick yourself because it's really about just the money to be rich or to be famous. You're chasing a very shallow value, a very hollowed value. You're not. It's not. That's not how you get there. The universe. It's gonna sound weird, like right. The universe knows when you're bullshitting and when you're not.
Good.
Right. Like people who are religious and know God knows when you're lying. Right. Like you could be fingers crossed. No, I didn't steal that. I promise. Well, your parents would tell your teachers or your priests or what, if you were Catholic would tell you, well, God knows if you're lying. It's the same thing. The universe knows if you're bullshitting. The universe knows if you're just saying this, but ultimately that's really your end game is. You'll only be happy if you're here. You're just saying the words. You can't just say the words. They have to mean something too,
So it's true is that money tends to be the root of a lot of anxiety.
Sure.
And if you, really nail it down, how many marriages go awry due to money?
A lot.
Right? And but let me put it to you this way. And this is kind of some of the framing that so the anxiety that you conjure up when you think about the lack of money. And certainly in today's world, it's pretty easy to get there because everything has skyrocketed, right? Supermarket, just normal stuff, supermarket, gas station. But also, if you pay attention to, the job market and you look at what's out there, you start to say, man, these jobs are paying the same that they were paying 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. And like the pay hasn't gone up. So there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of financial stress going on, not only in our country, but in the world. So there's two ways to look at it. I could sit there and stay in that state of fear, fight or flight, where you're crippled by it. You're crippled by it. So you're receding, you're retracting, you're crippled, you don't even want to wake up in the morning because, oh my God, it's just another pain.
Yeah, no.
But does the issue still exist? The issue absolutely still exists. But how you feel about it is vinegar. It's pure vinegar. So now you have the other extreme. Not, as a thought experiment, for those of you that are here and are not listening to Dr. Joe Dispensa, just a thought experiment is this. I want you to think for a moment that you already achieved that financial freedom that you lust over. You already achieved it. How do you feel now? Isn't that great? You feel great. You feel like, oh my God, remember that worrying I used to do, that fear? It's like a big load has been taken off your back. Good. Stay right there and get that feeling.
Why can't you feel like that all the time?
So take that feeling and work with it. Stay there. Stay in that feeling for a moment. What would you do? Write it down. What would you do? Well, first thing, we've been wanting to take a vacation. Good. Write it down. How does that feel? Remember when you took a nice vacation? How do you feel? Oh, it was nice, man. It was nice. We went to here, went to Disney.
Mine's very powerful, right?
So those juices start to change how you feel about not just your financial situation, about everything. It's going to spill over on everything. And there's a chemistry that goes along with it. And although we talk about mindfulness, there's a chemistry involved. And like if you notice, if your chemistry is right, most things, again, life is not perfect, but most things go on this.
Well, your body listens also. Remember, so when you just said chemistry, that's what kind of popped into my head. When you say chemistry, if you when you're holding, and I hate to say holding on to a feeling, but when you're projecting this feeling of accomplishment already, even though you maybe like the goal hasn't been accomplished, but you're acting as if I've already accomplished it. The chemicals your body releases, and I'm not going to name names and stuff like that because I'm not a scientist, but the chemical your body releases, your mind tells your body to release, helps your body also react a certain way. So like where that light feeling comes from, that tense feeling kind of starts to subside. Muscles relax, the heart rate relaxes, the body kind of settles in, and that allows the mind to work better also because the mind's not now trying to regulate a body that's out of sync.
Yes.
So you want the mind, like I think Dr. Joe was talking about this, where the mind and the body, you want them in sync. It's pointless to have one do one thing and the other do the other because they're just counteracting each other and you kind of stay in the same spot. So that's why he says, which is why I think I like this notion of a feeling abundant, even if you haven't accomplished that goal yet, is to always have that perception of I'm enough as I am now and continue to work towards the goal. It's not about not working towards the goal, but I am enough now and to anchor in that. And he actually says you anchor in that in the present moment, in the no mind, where there is no thought, there is no mind. I am enough now. I've accomplished. I've already, the feeling like you said before. I went on vacation. How was that vacation? Like you could project that feeling of, and all of a sudden you feel a lightness come about you, right? So you can live your life like that. And when you do, your body and your mind kind of get in sync with each other, and it allows you to move forward easier with what you want to do. You get clarity, right? We've said that on the show, right? If you want clarity, sometimes it's taking a breath, sitting and watching your thoughts, right? These are the words that we use because those are the words that kind of resonate with me, and watching my thoughts and not attaching or identifying with them. So when I don't identify with the lacking, I'm not lacking. I might have that thought about lacking, but I don't. And when I do that, I allow my body to relax also. When my body relaxes and my mind is now doing its thing, but I'm watching it, there's they kind of sync up a little bit, and it's easier for me to move forward, and maybe things start happening a different way in life because you're emitting a different kind of energy into the world. And look, I don't have, like you said before, we don't have any scientific data on this, but I'm sure if you research it, there is some. And I don't think you could ever really scientifically prove any of this, but the results are there where people will tell you when they put this energy out, it's amazing how it comes back. And if you allow your mind and your body to kind of sync up a little bit, how it's easier for that to actually happen. I mean, I know this is, it could be a lot, what we're kind of saying here, but.
So Scott Adams, going back to Scott Adams, the great Scott Adams, you know me.
Yeah, but look at these different people.
But going back to
always saying the same
going
thing.
back to Scott Adams, Scott Adams says this. He says, the most effective communication or the most effective way to really, let's say, convince somebody of something is if you could take this big concept and narrow it down to a quick little sentence. It really helps to the other person, let's say, get it or digest it. And he says that's what most authors tend to do, is most authors tend to take this big concept and narrow it down. Well, this is the message. And I tried to put this, because when you think about what we talk about, and then when Dr. Joe talks about, and all these things that over here and live in abundance, and then the body feeds the heart sends the message to the brain sends the message to the rest of the body, and then everything is flowing and so all these things, how do you, I've narrowed it down, put it all together, and I believe it's this. It's like the ecosystem. So a certain amount of precipitation falls, and a certain amount of precipitation rises, and a certain amount of precipitation falls again. So it's the same thing. So the mind and body is one system. So you have the one system where it's looping. So thoughts, feelings. So thoughts, feelings.
Sure.
So you want to, if you're having a negative loop, you want to interrupt that loop, and you want to program it so that it's a more positive or a more useful loop. That's it. That's it. So when we talk about mindfulness and we talk about the meditation and your focus on nothingness, because your ability to focus on the nothing, which means you let the negative float by, you let the intrusive float by,
Exactly.
so that your loop is useful, so that your loop is positive, so that your loop is of some use, instead of cowering, instead of fearing, instead of this anxiety. That's it. That's the bottom line. Is the loop is the connection between the body and the mind, because there's no doubt about it that if you think a certain way, you feel a certain way, and if you feel a certain way, the message goes right back up to the mind to say either give me more of this, stay in this state, or look out, watch out. And then when it gives us that look out, watch out, what do we do with that? We can fall back in, or we can identify message. Somebody tried to interrupt the message. Nope. We're going to go back to the programming that we want, which is more useful. It's just all these words, all these hours, all these things, just to say, in my opinion, I narrow it down to, I picture arrows going up and arrows going down, arrows going up, arrows going down. And the arrow is carrying the message, what you want to focus on, the thing you want to improve upon, the thing you want to manifest happen. And it's not going to happen when you have this, loop of
A fear or a fear of anxiety.
It does happen. It does happen, like Dr. Joe says. So, because somebody mentioned what we mentioned, somebody cut you off and is giving you the finger and all that stuff, and he says, "I'm human." He goes, "Of course, like I get, I get off track." He goes, "But it's how quickly I can get back on track."
That's the awareness, right? That's the noticing. That's the seeing. That's the, that essence that kind of says, hey, wait, no, this isn't where I want to be. I know where this road leads. That's a different cycle. I don't want that cycle. I don't want to be in that cycle. I don't want to be in that space. I want to be in this space. And you're able to allow that emotion or that thought, which could become an emotion and a feeling, and a habit eventually, you could let it float on by. Yeah. And its grip, while it feels like it grabs you for a second, quickly it loses its grip and it floats away, and you kind of come back to this centered, equal, balanced place again.
And how many times have you said that Eckhart Tolle himself would talk about examples of when he would get knocked off his own?
But everybody does. It's not about not having that thought. I mean, that's a perception that when people,
because the person watching, the professional or the expert,
thinks that
this never happens to you.
No, of course,
but in reality, it happens to you, right?
Sure, it does. But it's we've said it 1,000 times. It's noticing. If you're noticing it, you're going to catch yourself, and you're going to practice. Like we practice, whether it's meditation or mindfulness, you're going to practice feeling abundant, as Joe would say, and not attaching to the thoughts of lacking, but attaching to the thoughts of abundance and saying, well, okay, these are thoughts that this is the space that I want to be in. Yep. This is a beautiful place to be. Why would I want to listen to those? Why would I want to entertain those thoughts of that? Now, it's not easy to do, especially in the beginning, because if that's all you've ever known through your environment, your upbringing, it's hard to disconnect or disidentify from that. But that's where even he says, and he doesn't talk about it much. That's where he even says it in the present moment, right? In a way where there is no mind. And he actually says in the video, no mind. And people go, what is no mind? Is what we've been saying for 44 episodes. That space where you get to see, or like we do at the meditation, notice, become aware of, but not attached to. And you realize, if I'm seeing these thoughts and I don't like these thoughts and I don't want to follow these thoughts, then I am not these thoughts. And wow. And that's that moment where you go, all right, I'm not enough. I suck. I'm never going to accomplish this goal. Okay. And what do you mean, okay? Okay. I don't believe them. I don't buy into them. I'm going to do my next episode next week.
Yeah. And
I'm going to continue writing the book.
And I'm going to reprogram myself.
I'm going to go look for that new business endeavor that I want to do. And with the attitude of, or the feeling of abundance of, this is great. This is going to be great. It's going to be great. Even though you haven't like literally done anything yet, maybe like technically, but it's going to be great. That right away starts to open up doors and opportunities for you that you would not have seen before.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, very simple. I mean, you can go about your day in A mode, which is the fear, or B mode, which is I'm abundant. And if you just do that experiment with yourself, not with anybody else, because at the end of the day, it's yourself that you're trying to improve. Well, you're going to hopefully be able to see your own, let's say, fact-finding mission of your own results.
Fact-finding.
Yeah, because it's hard to explain to somebody who's been captured by that fear or by those thoughts. You know, it's
because that person's, I mean, there's no awareness there yet.
It's tough. It's tough. You know,
sure it is,
because we all suffer from something. You know, some thing or something.
Well, yes, yeah, sure.
We all have our recurring thoughts or recurring patterns, themes. There are things that trigger us in certain ways that can completely backdoor us.
Sure.
But if we're armed with these mechanisms that keep us centered and keep us balanced, basically, we keep the focus on what we want to focus on, not what that thought wants us to focus on. Which that thought could be doing a service to us, right? That thought could be telling us, hey, this is how we survive. That's how we survived. Because right now you're just harming me.
Well, there's different, right? Survival thought is one thing. A true survival thought, like in an emergency or something like that, that's a completely different. Or the woe is me, I'm not enough, and this sucks, and this always happens to me, and just my luck, and all that stuff. That's a whole different, realm of those are the thoughts that you want, that when they do come up, just watch them and don't just let them float by. I mean, it's easy to say that, and I think you have to be in a position, and he even said this, I think you have to be in a position where, like, they don't. So when does somebody actually take the steps to do this? And he goes, when the suffering has become so intense, when something happens in their life,
absolutely,
and Eckhart Tolle will say it. He goes, sometimes people are thrust into it, and sometimes they do it on their own. So it depends. But most people, it's going to be where that suffering is so intense where now they're willing to see a better way. They're willing to see, wait, I'm not like this shit in my head. That's not my reality. No, it's not your reality. But it takes sometimes that to get to that point where it's so painful. The suffering is so heavy that you're almost pushed into that realm. And then stuff like what we talk about, or what Dr. Joe talks about, or spiritual teachers talk about, makes sense. Like it resonates. Like all of a sudden, like something inside of you gravitates and goes, yes, wow. Hold on a second. Like I'm seeing things. I'm seeing myself think. I'm seeing these thoughts in my mind, and there's a space and a lightness and an airiness between them. All right. Well, that's a sweet spot. From there, you could start focusing on the things you want to focus on.
Yeah, it's funny how the mind works. It's funny how the mind is going to pick these scenarios that could have happened to you and maybe could have not happened to you, but in your mind, they happened to you, which is another one, false memories.
Sure. OCD has many of those.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
And it plays upon you
so
that you follow it.
False memories is very big within the OCD world.
And that's something so powerful that when you're in it. Like you believe it. And this is just another way of, again, reprogramming, hacking your own system.
Yeah. What words do you want to use?
Right.
What language resonates with you?
Yeah.
Hacking, rewiring, awareness, mindfulness. theta, gamma, delta, brain waves. It's what word, what path makes sense to you to realize it's all the same thing. We're all talking about the same exact thing, So yeah, I mean, it was a great video. It was a great video. I mean, if anybody has time, I would definitely Google Dr. Joe Dispensa. There's tons of content out there on him, and see if that's something that resonates with you. Maybe there's something that he says that that maybe you get what we're talking about, but sometimes maybe there's something else.
Yeah, I think if you listen to us and you go ahead and you couple it with a Dr. Joe Dispenza video, you're really gonna have this fusion of like, oh wow, I get now. Oh man, it's another dimension that possibly you weren't seeing, or you needed to hear it differently, and it might click. And then that's why the minute I saw this video, I go, hey John, I said, this is what we talk about.
It is.
And this is just coming from another angle, but it's the same
thing.
And I'm like, this is so cool, because he never once mentions mindfulness, but he does mention to be mindful.
To be mindful,
and
yes.
He's mentioning the present.
He says yes,
and it's so many parallels, and it's almost like saying again, why are you paying attention to this story? Focus on this story. Do you want your story to be repeating the past? Those?
Yeah. So I think it depends on the person. So somebody with a mind like mine, where I had my time, to use a better word, with obsessive compulsive disorder. A mind like mine, it's easier for me to attach to the not thinking than to try to think my way out of it by saying, okay, I am abundant, I am this, I am that. For me, it was easier to just say, I am, and drop everything. And from there, I get to choose where I want to go. I am. In the present moment, there is no pain. In the present moment, because my perception of pain and suffering is always in the future. I might feel a physical pain in this moment, but I don't amplify it by saying, this is going to happen. Oh my God, I'm going to be sick. This. All the woes and the worries and the projections of what the future will bring and how things were before this event happened to me. I am. And for me personally, and for other people who follow spiritual teachers, I am, no mind, not identifying, is a language that resonates with us, that we understand. But a more analytical mind might say, okay, I think I get what you're talking about. But then they hear Dr. Joe come in and go, when you're young, I forgot the sequence, if it was gamma, delta, alpha, or alpha, gamma, delta.
But he gives it.
Yeah. It goes from younger to older. I think I think it was delta, gamma, alpha.
Yeah,
it worked backwards. I'm not sure. Like those brain waves and talking about abundance and lacking and feeling like you're abundant and projecting that feeling, saying, I am abundant, I'm going to manifest it. That works for you. So I'm not against manifestation. There are people who tell you who are spiritual, manifestation. You're trying to kind of twist and manipulate things. No, that's not how I see it. I see it that if I can manifest without trying to manifest things. But that works for me. That works how my mind processes things. So that's how I use my tool. This is a tool that I have. Your tool, I have this hammer.
Right.
Your hammer might be a little bit bigger. Maybe it's a little bit more.
Right.
It's a little stronger. The handle's better. It's a better metal on top. So you could do a little bit more with you could get a little bit more intense with yours, and you can handle a little bit better. For mine, I got to use it a different way. So my tool works a certain way. Your tool works a certain way. But guess what? We're both doing the same thing with it.
Yeah.
So for you, maybe that works. Maybe the whole alpha, gamma, delta, brainwaves, the projection. He even says using Scott Adams says it too.
Reframe.
No, not reframe. When you say the same affirmations, he even talks about affirmations. Have an affirmation, write something down. So that might work for you, and that's great if it does. It's just a different way to do the same exact thing. That's what I find amazing about it. It's everybody's finding a different way to relate to another person how this works, right?
Yeah.
And it might be a combination. Like, remember, I always say with me, it wasn't just spirituality, but it was acceptance commitment therapy too. Like, I needed that little bit of scientific. And then all of a sudden, the spiritual made a shitload more sense, where I was able to drop that completely and just live in this realm now and understand it because I know. And I don't need to know why I know and how I know. I just know.
Yeah.
Where other people will be like, I get that, but this takes me here even quicker. All right, because it's working for you. Then go for it. But just I always say, be wary how the mind will sneak back in if you attach to it.
Yeah.
Right. Because he even says it's not about being egoic. I think he says that too. It's not about. So I think he was asked, do you put your affirmations out into the world? Like, do you come and say, I'm this and I'm that? And he goes, no. He goes, I keep that to myself.
Yeah.
He goes, when it happens, I can put it out into the world.
Yeah.
Well, I've accomplished this now. I've written my book.
He said that. Yeah.
Right? I've written my book. But maybe I don't tell everybody I'm writing the book for years, and maybe I wait till the book is almost done and I start talking about it. Right? So he'll say that too. And that's, I think, a little bit of, he's sprinkling a little bit of not buying into the ego, because the ego will do that. The ego will grab hold of this wonderful thing that you want to do and do what? And make it its own and start to identify with it. And then, boop, you're caught up with it again and it'll start manipulating you. So
he mentioned this, going back to your comment about the get rich quick. He goes, so many people will pay for our retreat. He says, because they do it like a week-long retreat.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. He says
a week or
we've done a week.
A week, yeah.
So they all wake up at the same time, do the same activities, go to bed at the same time. It's his thing. Right?
Yeah, sure.
But he says, so I have these people come to me and they say, I've been doing this for a week or two, and where are my riches? And then it's like, well, then you're not ready. If you're asking.
Oh, he goes, you're not good enough.
You're not good enough.
You're not good enough. And he didn't mean it in a sarcastic way.
Yeah, well, you're just not good enough. He goes, you got to keep working.
You got to keep working at it.
And
like, it doesn't happen sometimes in 2 days.
So I guess what happens is, what does that mean? It means the reprogramming has to take full effect, because you're taking a break from the reprogramming. Okay, I did it. Where's my reward?
Yes. So then you haven't done it. If you're going around saying, where's my reward? Then you haven't done it.
Right.
Because then where is your attention and focus? Your attention and focus isn't on what you're actually doing. It's on the hopes that you're going to get that at the end.
And you can't lie to God.
No, you can't lie to God.
You can't hold, your fingers crossed behind your back. Because
the universe, God, whatever you want to use, it'll know. It'll know, because I don't know. I don't know. You know what? I don't need to know.
That's
I just know that it fucking knows. It somehow, whatever this is out there that we put out into it, knows what to give back to us and to give us our reality. And sometimes it gives us things as a lesson for us to learn from, because maybe we're falling off of our path a little bit. So I don't need to know, but you can't lie. Yeah, you can't lie. So when that person says, it's been 2 weeks, Dr. Joe, how come I haven't gotten rich yet?
What's up?
You're not good enough. What do you mean I'm not good enough? Your intentions aren't pure. Maybe that's the way to put it yet.
But he says you're not good enough.
You're not good enough.
So I can smack you in the face a little bit.
Yes, you're not good enough. I mean, you're not doing it right. You're not doing this right. You're asking the universe for the reward, not for the process.
Imagine he's a teacher, so it hits different if I tell you you're not good enough.
Was he a teacher?
He's a teacher. No, he's a teacher.
Oh, gotcha.
So imagine if I tell you you're not good enough, you'd be like, what the fuck? But if I tell you, because you got to keep doing it, like, fuck off. But if I tell you you're not good enough, you're like,
it strikes a nerve.
Yeah.
Right? It gives you a little, oh, what the fuck, man? That hurt. Yeah, okay.
Good enough.
It hurt, yes.
Dude, I've been diligent.
I gave you $1,500 for this retreat.
Yeah, but
you're telling me I'm not good enough? You're supposed to tell me I'm great. No, I'm not.
So you've been robotic, in which, by the way, nothing wrong as a starting point, but at some point, you're in. At some point, you're in. And you're in. You're hook, line, sinker, in. The same in that you are when you're in that fear and that panic. It's the same in that you're going to have with the reprogramming, with the positive, more resourceful type of programming, where, oh my God, this is much more productive. Like, I'm picking up things that I didn't pick up before. This is like, again, Scott Adams, when he says, you ever been in a big cocktail party, and there's hundreds of people there, and then you hear them.
You hear the hustle and the bustle behind
the
you.
white noise.
Yeah,
people
the white
talking. It's like 77 conversations going on at the same time, and all of a sudden, John, and you're able to hear your name throughout this white buzzing. That's because you've been programmed to hear your name. So if you reprogram yourself, all of a sudden, as Dr. Joe says, here comes this opportunity, because you're able to see it, you're able to hear it, you're able to sense it,
You're able to notice it. Yeah.
Whereas if you're in that fear mode, there is nothing really. Look, when I was in fear mode, I stopped going to the gym. I couldn't. The amount of energy spent on fear and panic and anxiety was so no more gym. Eating? No, I lost a bunch of weight. No more eating. No more withdrawn from my relationships with the people that I love. So my wife, my kids, just I'm in panic fear.
Yep.
Okay, so very simple. Is that how you want to live? Don't get me wrong. That's how I was at the moment, but is that how you want to live? No. Okay. So would you like to reprogram? Well, yes. So reprogram and see what happens. Because I'm telling you, staying in there is not what you want to feel.
No.
And it's also not
Agreed.
productive.
No, it's not productive at all.
So
Zero production.
So okay, let's try something else. Let's reframe the brain. Shout out. Let's reframe reframe the brain, and let's see if we have another result. And let's see if you can start picking up things where you weren't picking up. And by the way, I don't just mean financial, because yes, financial could be a result of it, but when I say picking up things, is you start to value the relationships with the people that you have valuable relationships with. Where I told you before, you retract, you're in this fear mode. Well, what are you doing to your relationship with your wife? What are you doing to your relationship with your kids?
Yeah, you're alienating them. You're belittling that relationship. You're not nourishing that relationship at all.
And because all human relationships are these waves,
It's give and take.
there's like these waves. There's these energetic waves that we can't see, but we know that they exist. Well, you have these energetic waves with your wife, with your kids, with your friends, and these waves become tense and turbulent, and almost like I almost don't want to be with you, because you're really a downer, bro. I mean, the dinosaur is going to come eat you in a minute. Well, when you change that, you start gravitating. You start pulling.
Yeah, sure. It's like we said 1,000 times, right? I mean, it's what you put out, you get back. So if you're putting that energy out, people are gonna be like, okay. I mean, it really isn't jiving with me. There's something that so that connection gets severed. So when you have when you're on the same wavelength with somebody, or when you're not all tense and in a ball and you're not living in fear, you're giving out a different vibe. So the energy, the aura that comes off of you is different, and people could feel it and they can reciprocate that. But if you're giving off that fearful kind of tense, and people could feel that, and that will, listen, people are human beings, that can affect your relationship with them. So sure, I could definitely see where it was becoming strenuous, maybe with your wife and your kids, because it was getting erratic. It wasn't flowing. There was no flow. It wasn't flow, ebb and flow, like nice.
Yeah.
It was more of just, these, choppy waves, and I can see, I definitely get what you're saying. So,
but take that to your professional life, whatever
Same
it is,
thing.
whatever it is that you do.
Sure.
I think it can only improve upon whatever it is that you do.
Anything, never mind just anything in life. And I think people use the professional, business, monetary avenue because it tends to be the most attractive one for humanity, unfortunately, nowadays.
Yeah.
People are very attached to,
100%.
right, becoming successful
survive.
and making money and survive.
Yeah.
And I get that, right? It's a place for money in the world. I think that's why that one is very, is more prominent. But I mean, you could apply it to anything in life.
Yeah.
Absolutely anything. a disease, a sickness. I mean, you've heard of people, and look, this isn't to say if you get sick or something happens to you, you got to think your way out of it. No, it's to. So if somebody who has an accident loses a leg, loses a limb, is whatever, right? And you see these people who still live their lives as if they have two legs, right?
Yeah.
That person is living in abundance, even though they're missing a limb, let's just say, right? They're living their life saying, I'm still going to do what I want to do to the best of the ability that I can do it. I'm going to live as if I have them, not as if I don't.
Right.
Because when I live as if I don't, I won't. I can't. You know, those are the words that are going to follow it. But if I live as if I do, I can, I will, are the words that are going to follow that, right? And that's maybe an extreme example, but there are. You've seen people, even on TV, a person loses two legs and they're still playing sports and they're doing this, they're doing them modified, of course. Obviously, we know that they didn't grow their limbs back, but their attitude towards the universe is, I'm living as if I have them. So what does the universe give back to them? Opportunities to live your life the way you want to. So if there's something happening in your life, whether it's financial or physical, or health-wise, or family-wise, relationship-wise, put out what you want. Put out that vibe of what you want, but not with the intention that you have to get that back. But say, but no, this is how I want to live my life, because just because this happened to me doesn't mean I want to live my life differently. I still want to live my life with that feeling of lightness and airiness, even though this has happened to me. And I mean, the universe does hear it, and it might not, it's not going to give you back $1 million. And I think that's where people get lost a lot. But it's going to give you back the opportunity to live the way you want, right? What was that episode we had? The universe gives you what you want, not what you give you what you need, not what you want.
Yeah.
So if you want $1 million, the universe isn't going to give you $1 million. But if you're in tune enough, it might give you an opportunity where you can reach that maybe someday.
Yeah.
But that opportunity might be the one that you want, but it's the one that you need.
Yeah.
Right? So
it might not be the one that you thought it would be designed that way, but
if you live that opportunity, you get it. If you live it as if you chose it, like Eckhart Tolle says, in acceptance, you live as if you chose what happened to you. You know, to surrender is to say, this is what's happening to me right now. I have this ailment. I'm going to live as if I chose to have this ailment. To say, I wanted this to happen. I want this ailment, and I'm going to live my life with it. Yeah. That's what true acceptance is. Acceptance and surrender is to say this, to live my life as if I chose this to happen.
Yeah.
Not to live my life as I didn't want this to happen. This shouldn't be happening to me, because you go on a very different path when you do that.
When you said that, I can physically feel different. When you said that,
Isn't
I can physically feel
right.
it. Like literally, you know, I don't even want to say it, but let's say you have an ailment, right? Because I don't want to.
Yeah, I got you.
You have an ailment, and fuck, oh my god! But when you just said that, like you take back power, because when you have the ailment, you had no power, and it hit me. So now you feel powerless, and therefore hopeless, and therefore negative.
And that ailment, by the way, amplifies. It amplifies in one way or another.
Well, Dispensa claims that because he attracts the universities to study and the study centers to study what's going on.
Yeah,
with the people.
Very intelligent man.
So he's like, he says, I want everybody here. He goes, they measure. I don't know if you heard him. They measure heart rate, blood, urine, the plasma.
Certain chemicals in the body change after they do that. Yeah.
And he says,
there's a physical change.
There have been people that have been healed from physical ailments due to this. He goes, I'm not claiming that because of this. I'm simply claiming that this has happened. That's it. It could have something to do. It could not.
So it's indirectly a direct relationship to it. If that makes any sense.
100%.
So I was watching. I don't know if there's any Marvel fans out there. So I love Marvel, right? So, Iron Man, all those movies. I was watching Doctor Strange. I've seen it before, but I was watching it yesterday again. And I don't know if you know the story of Doctor Strange. He was a brilliant surgeon who gets into an accident and loses the ability of his hands. So he travels. He's told about this place in somewhere in Far East Asia, like a monastery where they could heal him. So he goes there, and what they teach him there is to let go of everything he knows and to believe that it's almost exactly what Dr. Joe's talking about. To live in this abundance of like you already have everything you need, everything that you want. I mean, it's a superhero movie, so he gets these special powers. It goes a little bit like that, but the message is kind of still the same. And there's this point where the Grand Master says, "I don't heal you, you heal yourself."
Nice, yeah.
So, and it's I don't rewire your hands or your body, or I don't do that. You do it to yourself, but never explaining how it's done. So, same thing you say, like when I was just saying, it's an indirect, direct relation. I mean, I know it's a movie, but it was just kind of funny because I watched it yesterday. It's an indirect, direct relationship. Dr. Joe will probably say it, right? Like you said, he goes, "I can't tell you how, but the data is there to prove it that these people physically got better because of this." And it's that direct, kind of indirect, direct relationship where they believe it's the power of the mind, right? Where they believe, or they put their energy with, as we say, they put their energy where it's beneficial for them, not where it's not. Just a different way to say it. And it does have effects.
And because we live in this type of world, you're gonna have a lot of people go, bro, that's some bullshit.
Yeah, sure. People get sick and die. It's gonna, of course.
So I'm gonna tell you what I told you in the pre-show, and I'm gonna say it here, recorded. It says Scott Adams said, reframes, which is what this basically is. Reframes don't have to be true.
They just have to work.
They just have to work. So that's it. So
if that, again, caveat, if that works for you.
Oh yeah, if it works for you.
If it works for you. If it works for you.
So
it might not work for everybody.
It may not work.
That might be a rabbit hole for some people. Yeah.
It may not work for everybody, but if it works for you, who cares if it's true? It's working for you. So that's it. So he mentioned alcohol is poison. If that works for you, because you're not going to take another drink because you understand that alcohol is poison,
yeah,
then God bless you. Good for you. You just did something that you thought was undoable. But if you're going to sit here and go, alcohol's not poison, doesn't work for you. You're not ready for that one.
You're not good enough.
That's it. You're not good enough. You're not ready for that one.
You're not good enough.
But then instead of, and then I'll just counter this and say, instead of being a naysayer, and tell us what works for you. Tell us what works for you. Tell us how you reprogram to success, or reprogram to have this fulfillment, to have this abundance, to have this, instead of, because there's so many people that are going to be out there going, mumbo jumbo bullshit, man. So
are you abundant or are you lacking? That's the name of this episode.
Yeah, that's it. And so again, we're here, like John said in the beginning, where we come here, and when we do this show, I mean, I could be flawed in every single way, but when I do this show,
not many, but
when I do this show, I am unconsciously, because it's beyond subconsciously, I'm unconsciously abundant. I'm unconsciously,
are you consciously abundant?
But you know what I'm saying?
That's weird, right? I get it.
It's so unconscious that it's conscious.
Unconscious, yeah.
And it's so conscious that it's
unconscious. You're just doing it. You're just feeling it. You are. Yeah.
Like I got over that mental hurdle that you pointed out, where who are we to be saying anything? I got over that. I'm saying it. I'm here. I'm talking. I'm giving you my life examples. I'm talking to you about my real feeling. And so the naysayer, look how stupid these two idiots look. These fucking idiots. Any negative thought that we can give, or any naysayer can say. So I welcome. What was your reprogram? What was your contribution?
Yeah, this isn't about, and then we'll wrap it up. This isn't about what we speak about to be the only way to live, or to get through, or to experience life. It's the way that works for us. But the one thing that we are sure about is whether it's Scott Adams, which Henry tends to follow, right? Or Dr. Joe Dispensa, or an Eckhart Tolle, or a Sadhguru, Ram Dass, or I mean, we'll just keep going down the
Yeah,
line.
so many.
If you're on, or the Sylvan way of learning, that
Silva.
Silva from Mind Valley. That's another thing that's out there.
The water. Did you hear the water trick or the water experiment?
No.
The water experiment is you fill a glass with water.
Yeah.
And right before you go to bed, you drink half the glass. But while you're drinking, you're thinking of nothing, or you're thinking of a positive thought.
Yeah.
So you're associating the act of drinking with that positive thought, and you leave the other half. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is finish that good thought.
Because that's exactly, you made a connection.
And you bookend.
Yeah, you made a connection.
And
it's
that's it.
Pavlov's theory. Ring the bell, dog slow.
Pretty much. Yeah. And then what happens is that will put you, that basically aligns the cart on the rail. And good for you if that works.
If that works, so yes, that's a great example. Exactly what I was saying was, whichever it is that resonates with you, but they all do the same exact thing. One is not different from the other in that the path that it points you in, the direction that it points you in, is one of above the thinking mind. That's probably the best way to put it, where you are above just the thinking mind, where you get to navigate and focus where you want, how you want. Now, the relationship of how you do that, the connection point, is different for everybody.
Yeah.
Mine's in mindfulness, awareness, watching my thoughts, not getting entangled in them, right? I allow them to flow, I allow them to go, and I anchor. But I do enjoy implementing parts and pieces of everybody else's.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, well, now I'm in this place of no mind. I'm in this open space. I'm going to feel abundant now. Like, I'm going to feel abundant. I'm going to, instead of just being constantly no mind, okay, that's great. But now I'm going to feel abundant. I'm going to choose to take this path, which is great. So I could implement all different ones, but whichever one works for you.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And like Henry said, you know what? You want to tell us which one works for you? That's great. You want to send us a message, tell us which one. Or maybe there's something else out there that we don't know about.
Right.
Like, hey, guys, did you ever hear of this person?
Right.
We might be like, yes, actually, we have heard of him.
Right.
We just haven't spoken about him. We have heard of him or heard of her, whatever it might be. And
Just be careful with this little spongy creature in here. This little wet, spongy creature in here. It's
there's something that feeds it. We don't know what it is. We don't know where it is. We don't know how it comes. This is your antenna. That's all it is. It's your antenna. Choose to use your antenna and point it in the right direction.
Yeah.
You remember if you're a kid in Brooklyn, I say Brooklyn is where I grew up, or back in the day, you had your TV with the rabbit ears on top. And to get a reception, sometimes you'd have to focus that rabbit ear to get the right reception.
I had the one rabbit ear that wouldn't stay up. So I had to put something.
That sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah. So I had to put something here, and there it is. That's the angle, and that's it.
It's the same exact thing. So use this antenna, and it's just a matter of focusing it where you want it to be. But on that, I think we should quit because we did it again.
Yeah, we did it again.
We did it again.
But before we go into the guided meditation, guys, like it, share it, please. Let it infect your circle, and let those circles infect their circles. That's the book. Read the book. I think you do yourself a great service. And
the book does talk a lot. I mean, it's more of my approach to it, but it hits on a lot of these things. It really
does. And then as you watch the show and you read the book, you realize that this guy went through a lot, and you're going to see some examples of stuff that he went through, and pretty much shares. And then you're going to be like, oh, it's really something else when you see the name to the face. It's not just faceless. I mean, yeah, if you don't know John, pick up the book anyway. But when you know him and then you read the book and you're like, damn, this guy, and now he can talk about it freely. Yeah. And, like, I hate to say that if he can do it,
if I can do it, believe me, he's right. He should. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
And I'm currently doing it.
And I'm currently doing it. I didn't do it. I'm currently.
Right. By the way, we're never done doing it.
I'm still doing it.
Because Joe says that. He goes, no, this is just, it's an operating system.
Yeah.
You got to stay up with it. You got to
keep updating it.
Right. It's not like,
stop.
Right. Like, hey,
you will stop one day.
Hey, I'm rich.
That'll be. Okay.
Hey, I'm rich. That's it. We're done. Then watch yourself be unrich real quick.
Not just be unrich. You could be rich and suffering. You could have all the money in the world and feel empty.
Yeah, it's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother episode. Okay, well, I think great episode, great thing. So, like Henry said, please like, subscribe on YouTube if you watch on YouTube. There's so many different data points for us to be Apple Podcasts,
Podbean.
Spotify, Podbean, Google.
By the way, I put us on iHeart Radio.
Were you able to get us on? Because
because iHeart is now something else. I think it's Spreaker.
Oh, okay.
So Spreaker, we're on iHeart. Spreaker, we're on. Listen, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
We're on something else called Blueberry. Believe it. We're everywhere. Yeah.
Blueberry, strawberry, raspberry. Yeah. So yeah, you can follow us plenty of places, but do like, follow, subscribe. And it's more to just, reach more people.
That's it.
We are. It's great when somebody does reach out. It's nice. It's nice to know that this resonates with certain people. So, if you could do that, that'd be great. And I think that's it. We'll take this bird in.
For a smooth landing.
All right. So everybody, thanks again for listening in. And we talked about a lot of different things today. So what I'd like to do now is, your mind probably has a lot of information running through it, a lot of words, a lot of thoughts, a lot of images. So now what we're going to do is we're going to learn to watch those thoughts and images and whatever's coming up. So let's start by taking a few deep breaths. And we like to do, like I said, I like to do that 4 or 5 second hold on the inhale, on the hold, and then on the exhale. So if you could follow that pattern as I talk us through it, just keep taking those inhales, holding, and then exhale. Keep that pattern, and whatever thoughts are in your mind, whatever's there right now, we'll actually put a different flair on it today. How about we pick an abundant thought? So let's have an abundant thought. Let's focus on that feeling in this meditation, like we've accomplished, we've reached the goals. You are enough already, but anchor in that feeling of that you've accomplished anything, how great everything is, how beautiful those accomplishments are. So let's anchor in that feeling and just watch that feeling. Don't hold on to it too tight, but just watch that feeling. Notice how maybe you feel a little lighter, a little airier right now, just thinking about it, just projecting that. Right now you're projecting that into the universe. You're telling the universe, this is what you would like. This is this is a feeling that you enjoy. This is a place that you want to be. And the universe will hear it. So now there'll be steps you have to take to work towards it, obviously. But noticing that feeling, noticing that it's there, being aware of it shows you that's where you have that control, is you're able to focus where you want to focus. And if it doesn't, if a negative thought is creeping in right now, which it most likely will, if it does, allow that one to float by and refocus on that. Let's refocus on that. Hey, I've accomplished everything feeling. And this isn't thought replacement. This is an exercise in focus. We're not replacing thoughts. This is an exercise and we're focusing on the thought that we want. So I'm focusing on the thought that I've accomplished. Oh the show has 4 million subscribers and me and Henry are being next to go on Oprah.
Not on top of Oprah. On Oprah.
We're going to next to go on Oprah. I'm gonna focus on that feeling. And here comes a thought maybe that says, you guys aren't good enough. I let that one go. I thank it and I watch it and I let it go. So I get to notice them. Let's take a couple of more breaths. If you have no thoughts while you're doing this, that's great too. Last one. And slowly open your eyes. And we're back. And I really hope you did that, because if you shut us off before and you didn't do that,
you missed the magic.
You missed the magic. But anyway, all right, guys. Thank you very much. And I think we're good.
Okay, real. Thank you.
All right, guys. See you next week. Peace.